What's up, everybody? As you can see, I'm here by myself. No Dev, no Tuck. They had a little mix-up this weekend with basketball. The women's bus had some issues, ended up on the side of the road. The men's had to turn around, but ended up not turning all the way around. And all that was too much to explain, but basically, they ended up having to move their games to Monday just yesterday, and they ended up being back here at like 4 or 5 this morning. So, them boys either sleeping or they're doing something else with basketball. So, it's just me today. And I hate doing that. I hate doing that because I don't get no feedback. I don't have no conversation to make, so I got to make conversation with myself. But I can do that. I can do that. Today, I'm going to start with baseball. The reason why I want to start with baseball is because baseball had a great weekend. They had a matchup against Adams State. Now, Adams State is a D2 school, and I can say that they're not as good as they have always been. But what I want to say is that baseball played the best weekend of baseball that I've seen played here at Wayland in a good minute. And I'm not saying that just because we dominated and did XYZ. If you check the scores, if you watch the games, first game we won it 2-1. Second game we won 2-0. Game 3 we won 8-2. Game 4 we won 19-12. Now that's something that we're used to seeing here at Wayland, is a high-scoring game. What I'm proud of is that we won not only a low-scoring game, but a really tight game at that. Because in recent years, when it comes down to pitching, pitching has low-key been our downfall. We've had guys that come in here and do really good things, but the excuse is always, oh, it's windy here, you know, we can't keep the ball in the park, you know, they hit a pop-up and it's going to go out. Well, this weekend it was plenty wind, and these guys got the job done. I mean, in the first 3 games, Adams State combined for 3 runs. 3 runs. I mean, I think what changed baseball, or what is changing baseball now, is just the fact that as a coaching staff, we aren't so stuck on this is my guy, or these are our guys that we brought in, and we're going to stick with them no matter what. We're sort of getting rid of that idea, because I think that can be the downfall of a lot of teams, because you think to yourself, well, this is the guy that has all the talent and all the XYZ, whatever it is that you recruited him for, and you're sort of just waiting on him to figure it out. That's going to cause a lot of problems for you. But this year, especially on the pitching staff, we have completely ran away from that, and I love that, because your guy that you recruited, that has all the juice, that's got all the speed that you want him to throw with, throwing all hard with all this, whatever else you want him to do, isn't always going to be your best bet. And I'm glad that we figured that out early, because we've been struggling in game 1s. We've been struggling in game 3s. We've been struggling. And so we brought out a new guy for game 1. Game 1, we brought out Tate House, guy that this year hasn't thrown yet. He hadn't come out of the bullpen. He hadn't done nothing. That don't mean he's not a good guy, but at this time, at this point in the season, we hadn't used him yet. So we get Tate House on the mound for game 1. And what does Tate come out and do? He goes 5 innings, gave up only 1 run, but 0 earned runs. So that means they got a run based off of an error. So they got 0 earned runs on my guy. And he only gave up 5 hits, 3 walks, and he got 6 strikeouts. That's a great outing. Does he come in and throw 90 plus? Does he throw upper 8s? Probably not. But does he come in and spot up and throw strikes and get outs? Absolutely, as you can see right here. So I hope and pray that this is our game 1 guy throughout the rest of the year, unless, God forbid, some injuries come up or something goes down. But this is your game 1 guy. Stick with this guy right here. Tate, you did your job, man. I hope that you continue to get this call for game 1 throughout the rest of the season. On the offensive side of things, we only had 3 hits. And normally, whenever we only get 3 hits, whenever our offense is dead, the pitching does great, right? Pitching does great, but because the offense is dead, we can't score no runs and we still lose the game. Or it gets flipped. Offense is doing great, but the pitching sucks, and we can score 15 runs, but the opposing team scores 20. But this time around, it was not like that. We had great pitching, and we did exactly what we needed to do to hit, to score runs. Only had 3 hits, but out of those 3 hits, 2 of them were home runs. Delbus hit a tank, and when I say a tank, he hit a tank. If you was at that game, that ball was gone, and you might not find it. BP got him 1 out, so that's 2 home runs right there, and those are the only 2 runs we got all game. But we won this one 2-1. Then in game 2, it was. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm trying to find it because I'm trying to see what's going on. Oh, game 2, we had Brandon. We had Brandon starting. Now, Brandon's been a starter for us, a consistent starter for us. We've had a lot of other starters that have been in and out, but Brandon's one of those guys that he's been consistent. It took him a little second. The first inning and the second inning wasn't his best, but then the rest of the way he was untouchable. He went through 5 innings, gave up no runs on 2 hits, 5 walks, 8 strikeouts. 8 strikeouts, but he was working on the mound. Potts came in relief. He did well, and then Christian closed the game. But what I loved about this game was to get our runs, we had a perfect bunt from Caesar to move the runners over. And then with 2 outs, Samuel comes up, gets him an RBI. We ended up scoring a run. We ended up winning this one 2-0. 2-0. Then we got game 3. Like I said, different guy. We got a different starter. We went with Big O. Everybody that I know, that he knows, everybody call him Big O. Real name Isaac Rodriguez, but we call him Big O, so I'm going to call him Big O. He did very well. He has not started. He's never started, but he came in and did his job. He went through 4 2/3 innings, only gave up 1 earned run on 4 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. What I want to talk about, though, not only the pitching, but the reason why I said that this was the best weekend of baseball that we played, because we did the fundamental things. Don't get me wrong, we still had a lot of ABs where we went up there and it just looked like we didn't have an approach and we was just up there just swinging the bat, just trying to hit a home run and just trying to hit the ball as hard as we can. But a lot of the times this weekend we had an approach to the plate. We had things that we were supposed to be doing and we did it well. So hitting with 2 outs, biggest thing, 2-out hitting. Memo and Felix, both with RBIs in the first inning with 2 outs. Big, and then on top of that, so we get those runs, but not only are we pitching well, not only are we hitting in timely situations, but then we have big defensive plays. I wish I could have pulled these highlights for y'all, but as you can see, I'm a little weak in terms of what I can do today. But big defensive plays. We had top of the 3rd, runners on 2nd and 3rd with 1 out. So easy scoring situation right there. All you got to do is hit a pop-up to the outfield. You might get the guy to come in from 3rd, or just a ground ball to the right side of the field. Might get that guy scoring from 3rd. But what do? Isaac gets a strikeout, and then we get a diving play from the left fielder. I think it was Christian over there in left field at that time. I'm sorry if I'm wrong on that, but I think it was Christian over there. Had a beautiful play in the outfield, diving for the ball, laying out, getting the 3rd out, and getting out of that inning with no run scored. And Felix comes up. He hits a 2-run bomb, made it 4-0 in the 4th inning. And then some rough play from Adam State in that 5th inning allowed Samuel to come up and hit a 3-run home run. And that would honestly be the end of the game. We won this one 8-2, like I said, and then Vargas, he closed it for us. Game 4 was completely different from the rest of the series. As you heard, 19-12, that's a lot of runs. And a lot of runs means you got a lot of hits. So this was a little bit different. Didn't get the start that we thought we were going to get from our Game 4 guy, but he's been doing well throughout the season, so hopefully that was just a fluke. But we had 25 hits in this game. They had 16 games. So we combined in this game for 41 hits. Completely different from the rest of this series. High scoring, both teams deep in their bullpens, but at the end of the day, we got it done. The biggest inning from this game, though, for me, as a person that is watching, was the first inning. We had flawless execution offensively. Very fundamental baseball. And like I say, I love fundamental baseball. Caesar had a sack bunt to move over the runners into scoring position. Then Memo drove him in with the RBI single, very next AB. Then Delbus comes up with 2 outs, an RBI double. And then Samuel comes up with 2 outs. He hits an RBI single. Then BP comes up on a hit-and-run RBI. So he's swinging and the runner's already running. Perfectly placed hit to the right side of the field while the runners was breaking to second. So, of course, as the runners are breaking to second, the middle infield is crashing to second. So that opens up the infield a little bit to that right side, and that's exactly where BP put the ball. And we scored and scored and scored and scored with 2 outs. And we just manufactured runs, and that was really big for us. Without that first inning, I don't know how well the rest of this game would have went. We had a pair of home runs by Samuel and Rafael in the third to go up 8-5. And we really needed the offense, like I said, because Adams State finally woke up offensively and just started raking. We gave up 9 hits before we went to the bullpen. We gave up 9 hits, with 2 of them being home runs and 7 runs. So then we had to go into the bullpen, and it was one of those situations where you just got to keep pulling guys, But what I will say is Colin, the third guy out of the bullpen that we got to, finished this game, and he did a really good job. Through 3 1/3 innings pitched, he gave up no runs on 2 hits, no walks, 3 strikeouts. Very efficient, very efficient. Does he light up the radar? No. Does he do the job? Yes. So I love to see it when guys get in and they do exactly what it is that they're called on to do and just basically play their game. They don't try to do too much, and they're not afraid to just go out there and get it. And so we swept these boys this weekend 4-0. So props to y'all, baseball. I think the biggest thing that I love about this is we have this series as we get ready to start conference play. This weekend they got their first conference series at USAO, and the Drovers are historically a good program. They're just a good program. They know how to win games. They know how to manufacture runs, and they're going to win the scrappy ones. But what I can say is this team right here, with this mentality, doing fundamental things, getting hits with 2 outs, pitchers are doing their jobs, that's got to win you a lot of games, man. And I really believe that this team, if they can do that, if they can continue to do that, they're going to win more games. Now, they've had fluke games in the past already this season where they just didn't look like the team that they are. So I just hope that this can be a consistent thing, because if you go 4 games straight and get the job done 4 games straight, I believe that you can do that throughout the rest of your season. This isn't a fluke. This wasn't a fluke performance. This was a team that has been working on doing the fundamental things, and they did it. So props to y'all. Continue doing what y'all doing, man, as y'all get ready for this conference play. Now, I want to go back to where I normally start off, and that's going to be the first subject. We're going to start off with women's basketball. Women's basketball tied for first again with Langston because of Langston's loss to Texas Wesleyan. So now we're tied for first going into the matchup versus John Brown. So what do we have to do here? Basically, we have to win. Keep winning, because Langston's probably going to keep winning as well, unless they drop another one. But that's the thing. You don't want to have to depend on somebody else's failure for your success. So just keep succeeding. You ain't got to worry about what everybody else is doing. So they go into this matchup against John Brown. And in that first half, Linda was very active defensively. She had 4 steals in the first half. And that got her going offensively because, I mean, if you're getting steals, you can get down the court pretty quickly and get you an easy little bucket. So she had 8 in the first half, but it was honestly easy pickings for the whole team. Whole team was getting steals, whole team was locking up, and that just gave us so many more opportunities to score, and we did. And then on top of that, John Brown only knocked down 5 shots the entire first half. That means the first quarter and the second quarter, they only knocked down 5 shots. So that's a big difference. I mean, they had their free throws and all that stuff, but we dominated them defensively, and we were up 18 going into the second half, and we we finished the game basically from there. We ended up winning this one 79-61, and what I've noticed is that when we win, we don't just win, but we destroy teams. Our average margin of victory is 20 points. 20 points is crazy. If you average beating teams by 20, that's a pretty doggone good team. Some notable players from this game was Megan. She had 29 points and 12 rebounds. Linda had 14 points and 6 steals, and both of them were shooting well above 50%. Megan was shooting 80% from the field, and Linda was shooting 60% from the field. So big win there. You're keeping control of your own destiny. Then we go into a matchup against the Ozarks, and we blew it. To say it nicely, we blew it. We came out in the first half, and as they did the first time we played them, was right after winter break. They ran with us. They can push the floor. They can push the pace of the play a little bit. So they ran a good first quarter with us, and it was 23-20 after the first quarter. Just like the last time we played them. It was a really tight first quarter. But then we came out in the second quarter, and that's where we separated a little bit. We went on a 10-0 run to open up the second quarter. And Really started hitting from deep. We was up 44-32 at the half. So in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, sorry, y'all, goodness gracious. I'm thinking to myself, all right, this game is over with. No, we don't give up leads like that. This game is over with. We got a decent lead. We're going to come out in the second half. We're probably going to have a slow third quarter because we always have a slow third quarter. I don't know why it is that we do that, but we can dominate all first half. Then we come out in the third quarter, always have a slow third quarter. Then we come out in the fourth and finish the job. Well, we ain't do that. We did the exact opposite of that. We got outscored the entire second half. And the fourth quarter was the worst performance. The worst performance. We were up by 16. 16 in the second half at one point. We went into the fourth quarter and we shot 3 for 20 from the field. 3 for 20. Got outscored 22-9. 22-9? What is that? I mean, we just completely imploded. We just blew up. I mean, that was it. We just fell apart. And so we ended up losing this game 75-72 to the Ozarks. And if you didn't notice, we dropped in the rankings, in the last rankings that came out. Even though we went 4-0 over the period of rankings coming out, from rankings to rankings, we went 4-0. Still dropped to 18. There's a reason behind that. I'm going to tell y'all. I'm going to get to it. Dropped to 18. Then we lose this game to an unranked team. Unranked team. Don't get me wrong, the team, they're decent, they're solid. But not a team we should lose to. So we lose to this team. And in my mind, I'm telling you right now, if we not 23rd, 24th, 25, we probably not going to be in the top 25. And I'm going to tell you exactly why. Our strength of schedule is 198th. There's only 235 women's basketball teams at the NAIA level. So our strength of schedule is pretty down there. Now, as a team, sometimes you can't help that. If your conference is weak, your conference is weak. It is what it is. But that also means you got to take care of business. And if you ain't taking care of business, then what you think going to happen? You're going to drop. You're going to drop in the rankings. Q1 games. For those of y'all that don't know, Q1 just basically means it's a good game. You're playing a good opponent. That's all it means. We've only played 3 good opponents according to these NAIA stats. We've only played 3 good opponents. And in those 3 games, we've went 2-1. So we're 2-1 in our Q1 games. We have a 198th strength of schedule. And we're losing to teams we shouldn't lose to. If you're going to take a loss to MacU or Langston or something. We took a loss to Langston, yeah, but then we took a loss to Southwestern Christian. And then we took a loss to the College of the Ozarks. I mean, y'all hurting yourselves. You're shooting yourselves in the foot, really. You got to figure that one out. You got to figure that one out because coming down to the end of the season, you want to stay in that second place spot because a lot of the times when you talk about at-large bids, if you don't win your conference tournament, it comes down to, okay, where'd you finish in your conference standings and what teams you played and all this and X, Y, Z. And all that we have right now is a good record. We don't have an argument for strength of schedule. We don't really have an argument for our Q1 games because we've only played 3. And unless we win the tournament, we don't have that argument either. And we don't have the argument of regular season champs unless something crazy happens near the end of the season either. So, you know, it ain't all said and done. But man, y'all not, I hated to see that. I hated to see that. Let me go on ahead to the next subject, man. Next subject was men's basketball. Men's basketball in the same situation, but instead of being tied for first, they were tied for second with John Brown, who they had to play this past week. Because MacU and Langston took a loss. We moved from, I believe it was either the 3rd or 4th, one of those. We were still in the top 4, and we moved into second place, tied for second. So it's still a tight match. But anywho, we go into this first half, and I feel like we honestly tried to play like John Brown. Because John Brown had shooters. They had some shooters. They were shooting it. They weren't shooting well. They weren't shooting great, but they was knocking down a couple of shots. And I felt like we were trying to match them in terms of shooting from the three. Like, we was just jacking up threes, man. And don't get me wrong, they was open threes. It's not like they were terrible It's not like they were terrible shots. They was open shots. But the thing is, if they're not falling, stop shooting them. Drive. Because if they're not falling, clearly, defense, they're not hitting right now. Play off of them. They're gonna bait you to shoot the ball, and that's exactly what they did. They left us open at a three a couple of times, and we just kept shooting it. We just kept shooting it. I don't have the stat here in front of me. I wish I did. I don't know why I didn't put that down. But anywho, we kept shooting from three. But what I will say is, as per usual, we was working hard on the offensive boards, but we didn't have a lot of second chance points to show for it. But like I said, John Brown wasn't playing an exceptional game either. They was playing mediocre ball. We was playing mediocre ball. So it was a tightly played game in the first half. We was only down 30-28 at the half. Come out in the second half, and we turned it up just a little bit. The defensive pressure, we stepped it up. We had on a full court press off tops. From the beginning of the second half, we had on a full court press, and that really helped open up the gap a little bit. We separated ourselves from them a little bit. I think we built like a 6 or 7 point lead, maybe somewhere around there. Nothing over that, though. But the reason why I feel like we didn't open this game up is just the fact that we just weren't hitting the shots that we really needed to hit to just blow this game open. We would get a good lead, and then we would come down, have an opportunity to make it a 9-point game, a 10-point game, miss a shot. And it was a good shot. And then they come down, they'll score. Then we'll come back and we'll score. And then we'll go down, get a stop, come back, can't score again. And so we were putting ourselves in a situation where we was going to have to fight to the end. And that's exactly what happened. Both teams had some costly turnovers, especially in clutch time. And we didn't make it count. They didn't make it count. So, of course, we stayed tight, neck and neck all the way. But, of course, with 40 seconds left in the game, Q hits a three. Ties it, 62 all, right? And we had an opportunity to win it at the end of the game. Oh, this part right here really frustrated me. We had an opportunity to win it at the end of the game. We had a couple of seconds left. You know, I think we called a timeout. Whatever it was. Had a couple seconds left in the game. And my thinking was, you know, it's a tie ball game. It's a tie ball game. What do you need in a tie ball game to win the game? Especially if you're taking the last shot. You just need 1 point. You need a layup. You need a good look. Drive to the paint. You could get fouled. Knock down a free throw. Do something other than take a contested shot, right? Right? But that's not what we did. We didn't draw up a play. First of all, we didn't draw up a play. That's a problem for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, trust me, I get it. I get it. There's so many people that are coaches that have a higher IQ than most everybody else. That's probably why you're a coach, because you understand the game at a different level. But I think that there are some times where you have to do what makes sense. Do what makes sense. Do the basic things. Like I just talked about with baseball, you do the basic things, right? So instead of drawing up a play, what do? And I know y'all can guess it if you've been keeping up with basketball this year. Instead of drawing up a play, we give it to Q, and it's like, win the game for us, Q. And he takes a contested three, right? And I can't even say nothing about Q, because that's probably what the play was. Get the ball to Q, let him shoot a three. And if it wasn't get the ball to Q, let him shoot a three, it was probably get the ball to Q and let him win the game. That's probably what the play was. I guarantee you it was, because there was nothing else going on that court. Nothing else going on that court. And in that situation, and trust me, I respect all of y'all. A job as a head coach ain't easy. It never is. But I'm going to say this with as much respect as I can say it. In this situation, we got outcoached. We got outcoached. Because with a couple of seconds left on the clock, you're telling me that your best play in your mind is to let Q go to work instead of drawing something up to create something down low, getting off a better look, a contested three? You think that's going to win you the game? It has earlier in the season, but that's just been prayers. That's been prayers that have been answered. That ain't been great coaching. Great coaching draws up a play in that situation. You got a couple seconds left in the game. You have got to draw up a play, get a good look. If you get fouled, now you got free throws. If you don't get fouled, you got something down low. You got an opportunity to grab another rebound and go back up, right? And even if you don't score, at least you know you gave your best opportunity, right? Even if you still go into overtime, which is what we did. We went into overtime. You still gave your best opportunity. But I don't think we gave our best opportunity. So then we go into overtime. And we failed as a team to knock down free throws. We went 6 for 13 from the line. Ended up losing this game 75-72. That's 7 points left on the line. 7 points. That'll probably win you that game. So everybody had a part in this loss. But I really just hate that we did not drop a play. We've done it time and time again. Close game, give it a Q. Close game, give it a Q. I get it. He's done it time and time again. But, man, at some point, you got to drop a play and make something happen. You got too many guys on this court to just let it be all on this one guy. Too many. We failed to win clutch games of late. We was tied for first a little while back. We lost that game. The upcoming game. Then we was tied for second, and then we lost this game. And it's just like every single time we get an opportunity to take control of our own destiny, we can't finish. You can't finish it. So then we go into this game against the Ozarks. Close game out the first half, but we started separating ourselves, finishing that first half with a 12-0 run. Then started the second with a 10-0. We started the second half with a 10-0 run to total up a 22-0 run. A 22-0 run is crazy. So as you can imagine, we dominated these boys the rest of the way. Ozarks had no answer for us. We ended up winning this one 73-61. We had a lot of guys that contributed to this win. We almost had 6 guys in double digits. I think we had 4 in double digits, and one guy had 8 and another had 9. So that was really good for the basketball team to bounce back in that situation. And I think right now we're either tied for third or tied for fourth, but it's tight. It's tight, and we're uncomfortable because of that loss that we had to John Brown. And what sucks is this: when we play on Thursday, that'll be our last regular season game. But a lot of the rest of conference is going to be playing on that Saturday, so we're just going to be watching, hoping that somebody take a loss that'll bump us up or doing whatever, instead of just watching to just feel comfortable, which is where I wish we were. But that's not where we're at right now. So that's it for men's basketball. Let's take this one on to softball. Softball had a 2-game series against Sterling, and they split that series 1-1. Game 1, we won 15-9. Game 2, we lost 13-11. I wasn't there. Of course, I was at baseball, and of course, since I wasn't there was no stream. So the only thing I'm basing all of this stuff off is stats. And so, based off of the stats, we did what we've been doing all year. We're hitting the ball well. You score that many runs, that means you're hitting the ball well. And we just have that type of team this year where we can really count on our offense. But what we don't have is the ability to control the game on the other side of the ball, pitching and defensively. Every game we're in a shootout. Now it is the beginning of the season. You know, pitching might become more confident in themselves, more dominant as the year goes on, and we might find ourselves destroying teams. But right now, in every game that we play, we're in a shootout, whether it be because of errors or because of just pitching. But those are 2 things that we're really going to have to lock down on if we want to become confident that we're going to continue to win, or every game will be a toss-up. Every game will be a shootout, because we know we're going to hit. But can we stop them from hitting? Can we stop them from scoring? That's the question. And so we split the series, and I just really hope that moving forward, we can figure out this pitching and the defensive side of things, because I know this is still a young team, especially in terms of being able to work together. I don't know why I always have a brain fart when I try to think of that word. Team chemistry, that's the word. So it's hard, you know, to really build that up. This is just a second-year team, so they still got some time to meld together and sort of build their team camaraderie up and do some things that other people might not expect of them, which they have already done. Because last year, I'm pretty sure people didn't expect them to make it to the conference tournament. Not only did they make it to the conference tournament, but they did fairly well. But this year, They have a really high-powered offense. They're going to score some runs. Girls are going to hit, and they just have to play defense. They have to play defense, and they got to lock down on pitching. I don't know what it is exactly. Like I said, I wasn't there. Maybe we're leaving too many balls over the plate. Maybe we're not spotting up too well. Maybe we're leaving meatballs. You know, whatever it is, we got to figure it out, because as an offense, which baseball has struggled with this in recent years, as of right now, they're not struggling with this, so I'm proud of them. But this is a situation where you got the offense that you need, but you don't have anything to back it up. And so we got to figure that portion out. Next subject, go to track and field. Track and field. Back at Texas Tech again at the Jarvis Scott Invite. And in the 1,000 meter, as always, Matthew Gordon placed first with a time of 2:28.04. In the 5,000 meter, Jay Sanchez placed sixth with a time of 14:59.68. Sorry. And then in the 60 meter hurdle, Justin Guy, I've been waiting on you, bro. I've been waiting on you since last year. Buddy is top tier speed. Like, Buddy got real speed. But he hasn't competed. I think he competed unattached at some points in the season last year, but I don't think he ever competed for Wayland. And then this year he hasn't competed up until this point. I was waiting on him because I knew he was going to do something for us, and that's exactly what he did. The boy didn't make it to the finals. Mind you, this man is running up against all this crazy D1 talent. He didn't make it to the finals, but he made it to the semis. And he ran a 7.80, a sub-8 second, 60-meter hurdle. 60-meter hurdles. And the time was adjusted to a 7.77. So that's the third fastest time in the NAIA indoor season all year. Third fastest time. So I can only imagine when the NAIA Indoor National Championships come around, which they're coming around soon, and I hope we have the money to travel these guys. I know we can find the money somewhere. We got plenty of money to do other things. I'm pretty sure we can find the money for these guys to go and run at the NAIA indoor meets if they're doing stuff like this, because they weren't able to go to the NCCAA indoor meet. I don't know why, but we ain't gonna get into all of that. That's not for me to discuss. But anywho, shout out to you, Justin. I don't know how he didn't make the finals, because I saw some guys in the finals that had slower times than him in the semifinals, but there also were some guys that had faster times that weren't in the finals. I don't know if some guys just didn't make it for injury, or, you know, you got top two here. If you make top two in your semifinals, I thought that's what would automatically qualify you. And then after that, well, not after that, but before that, then the top times are. And I thought it would be a 8-man final, but I think an indoor, that portion of the track is shortened. So whatever the reason was, he didn't make the finals, but I feel like he could have made the finals. But he did a really good job, and he ran a really good time. As you can see, the third fastest time in the NAIA. Not a lot of people can compete with that. So Buddy's on track to do some good things for us. In the 4x4, Drum, Young, Paloli, and Gordon, they placed 15th with a time of 3:16.48. Now, like I said, I normally don't do the rankings when they come lower, but this is the top 20 time in the NAIA indoor season. They're running against some top dogs, competing against some really good guys, so they're doing what they need to do at their level, and I know that they're going to compete really well when the NAIA Indoor National Championships come around, if we are able to go. Now, we had four athletes this week get nominated as SAC Players of the Week for their sports. Samuel won SAC Player of the Week for baseball. Matthew Gordon won Athlete of the Week for track and field. I believe Absidy Garcia won Player of the Week for softball, and that's 3. I'm missing one. Oh, and Megan Nestor won Player of the Week for the SAC for women's basketball. So 4 athletes among all the other athletes that are in the SAC all came from Wayland this week. So props to y'all. Y'all doing some good things. I hope that we can continue to do that, especially now the winter is coming down to an end and the spring is starting to kick off. I want to see the spring kick off well, and I want to see the winter end off strong. So let's bring some hardware back, you know what I'm saying? Wrestling speaking of that, let's go ahead and get into the upcoming games then. Wrestling has their SAC tournament this weekend on Saturday. Men's wrestling. I don't know why men's and women's are separated, but men's wrestling is this week for the SAC tournament, and women's wrestling SAC tournament is in March. So I don't know why that's separated, but like I said, hopefully the men can come back with some hardware from that SAC tournament. They'll be in OKC on Saturday. On Thursday, basketball has a matchup versus MACU at 6 and 8. The women's, as you know, are ranked 18th in the nation. They'll be facing off against MACU, who's ranked 23rd in the nation. And this is going to be some things that can determine where we are going to be in this conference tournament on the men's and the women's side. On the women's side, let me check this out, man. Let's check out these standings since I got so much time since I'm up here talking about myself. Well, would you look at that? MACU is 3rd in conference right now, and we are 2nd in conference. Now, even with the loss to MACU, we're going to still be in 2nd in the standings in conference. But what I will tell you is a loss to MACU is not going to help us overall. It's not going to help us because speaking of those Q1 games, this is probably one of those games. So this will be our 4th one of the season, and I just hope that we can win it. And we'll be 3-1 in Q1 games, and we'll sort of have a little something to hold on to after that upsetting loss to the Ozarks. So they play at 6, and of course the men's will follow up right after that at 8. And on the men's side, I think that they're also in the same situation. The standings are neck and neck. As we see right now, MACU, yeah. So MACU has their 1 game short of where we are in the season. So of course they'll be finishing their season on Saturday. We'll be finishing our season this Thursday, a regular season. So we'll have to see what they do on Saturday for this. But the best way to control this is to win the game because we're 16 and 7, they're 15 and 7. So winning it here, I won't say it'll solidify things for us, but it'll definitely make sure that we stay in that top 4 for a host for that first round of the conference tournament. Friday, like I said, baseball will be getting ready for their first conference series against USAO. And I really hope that they can continue to do what it is that they did against Adams State and go out there and have a good 3 games, not a good 4 games, but conference, they only play 3-game series. So we got 3 solid starters. And a lot of the starters that we did have for game 1 are now the guys that are coming out of the bullpen. So we got a solid bullpen as well. And if you go deep in the bullpen, we still got some solid guys deep in the bullpen as well. So if pitching continues to do what they do and our hitters continue to scratch across runs and do the bare minimum, the fundamental things, they're going to win. They're going to win the series, and I believe that. That's all we got. Oh, and beach volleyball, again, has another tournament at Texas A&M Kingsville invite. So they'll be kicking off some more things there. And I hope that they continue their success after having a lot of success in their first weekend. And I say a lot because it was a lot of success for their first time playing. And for their first time playing, they're playing against the top dogs in the nation. And they handled themselves well. Even though they went 1-2, they still took a win. And they stole one from the defending champions. So hopefully this weekend we can actually rack up a couple of more wins. And I believe that they will. I believe that they will. I don't know who they're facing off against, but I believe that they will. That's all we got for y'all this week, man. I'm sorry. I know this week sucked. I hate being up here by myself. I feel like I don't do well by myself, but it's all right. We'll see y'all same time next week.